Thanks. So yeah, I personally, I was born in Texas, but most of my professional life has been in Mexico. Although I had the opportunity to work 3 years in the sub-Saharan African region, working for representing an international company. That was when I was in my 20s. And I got a huge realization at that time about how different regions of the world could connect and benefiting both sides, right? So that started my heart there. Later on, when I came back to Latin America, I started investing in Latin startups, looking to foster and to contribute somehow about the accessibility of capital in the Latin region, which was underdeveloped or little developed compared to here in the US. That's where I met Rogelio and how I started getting connected in the startup world in Mexico. And later on, I started investing in real estate, and that's what I do today. I'm the managing partner of a real estate fund. We focus on commercial real estate projects. So I started investing in that. Contrary to many people, normally everyone starts with real estate and then they diversify to more risky assets, but I did it the other way just to compensate the portfolio. And then I found how through real estate, as David mentioned in his presentation, you can also contribute, because as you said in your, I have that intention, and I also believe that we are here to live a better world. So I found that through real estate, you can also contribute to change communities. We invest only in Hispanic communities, and I somehow want to contribute through this knowledge of this doing business. I'm also an entrepreneur in both countries and real estate. I'm happy to help these regions connect. So that's a little bit about my investing journey.
Thank you so much, Lala. Kevin, you are one of the most important innovation leaders connecting Texas, and having connected already innovation between Texas and the States and Mexico. He has been a speaker at our festivals several times, Kevin, and he's leading our tech branch. Tell us a little bit about you, about your journey in Mexico and this connection and doing business between Texas and Mexico, and about tech branch, Kevin. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, David, for the opportunity. For me, my experience of working with Mexico started in 1991. First time I was on the Tech Monterey campus was in 91. I was working for a Steve Jobs startup called Next. And the whole idea about what my experience has been about is how is it we can have high tech and then relationship. I like to say, let me tell you a little story. Texas is closer to Mexico than California. They both border Mexico. But now I'm a multi-generational Texan. Part of my family got here, 300 years before Christ was on the planet. So, I know something about Texas, Mexico. But the thing that I think is, that's been interesting is, my career has been about building relationships across the border. My first dollars went from my first startup in 1994, for pesos in Mexico, in Guadalajara, for a bank. The thing that I actually would like to point out is the Texas sensibilities and the Mexican sensibilities, especially the sensibilities in Nuevo Leon, are very, very similar. In our case, we've worked with more than 30 companies from Monterey proper, and then because of our relationship with the federal government of Mexico in 2018, 2019, we've worked with around more than 400 companies across Mexico. I've had the opportunity to speak in 23 different cities in Mexico, and part of it is I was given the gift of having my first $250,000 customer 30 years ago in Mexico, and so I've tried to give back and building those relationships back and forth. Can talk a lot more about what we've actually got to do in Nuevo Leon, but real excited about this opportunity. So, and happy to share more about how to really tap into the relationships and drive productive business as we're getting to do as part of Tech Branch.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Rene, we know with Robertson, you're one of the leading boutique industrial developers and construction firms in Monterey, and also with a lot of projects in Mexico. So tell us a little bit about what Robertson is doing, how you do business, how you attend different projects and customers, challenges and the importance to find the right partner.
Thank you, Tom. Well, Robertson Industries, we are, like I said before, we're an industrial developers. We do buildings, especially for a logistics company, manufacturing, medical, and several other industries. We've been on the market for 18 years doing construction, but we basically learn every day from our customers. We have customers from Texas, other parts of the world as well. Life is going too quickly nowadays. I'm happy to share David's vision and everyone here about the Texas and Mexico region. Sitting here today, what the connectivity that we're going to have in next years, 10 years or 20 years from now, the cities will be connected. So we need to do leapfrog steps to get to attend this market that we'll have, and learning with the innovation and the technology that incMTY is doing, or many other software companies that are providing the talent to the younger ones. Those are ways to help connect ourselves in between regions. This is a geographically, we have a lot of resources, workforce in the area. So I think there's a lot of great assets to join forces, right? We see US customers trying to go to Mexico. It's very interesting how we see how many manufacturing plants are continue to want to go to Mexico because of the great opportunities in regards to, for example, permits and regulations. Things move fast back in Mexico. The quality standards of the buildings and the way of doing businesses in Mexico, they work very well. I think the mindset of Mexicans and learning how the world is now living, we're all striving to do things right and very well. So I think for what I've seen and what we're looking forward, Mexico has a lot of opportunities to share businesses with Texas in this cross-border collaboration.
Thank you, Rene. Tell us a little bit about your company, Carlos, and also in your role as representative of the CSOFT cluster here in Texas. What are you doing right now in Texas? What have been your challenges a little bit coming to Texas? How you have connect, how you got your first big projects and big clients here? And also let us know a little bit about the capacity of this CSOFT cluster and what are you doing there?
Thank you, Tom. ISITA was born in Monterrey, and 2 years we decided to come here to Austin, basically pushed by the cluster of software when they started to understand our mission. And they call it a mission, we call it an obsession, when we say that we need to change the perception of Mexico in technology, because nobody thinks about Mexico when we talk about technology. Everybody thinks thinks about India, everybody thinks about Europe, everybody thinks about China, but really nobody thinks about Mexico, and that got me bad sometimes. So one of my mission that I talked to the government, say, hey, we need to change that. We're very close to that. So fortunately, I have our company is doing business with some of the largest corporations in Mexico, and some of them agreed to us that we need to help them. We have two objectives here: bring big corporations to Mexico using technology. Right now, for instance, we're working with FEMSA, the big group where they're going to start setting up a lot of offices in Mexico. We're one of the leading consultants for them. And the other companies like Farmacias de Ahorro, where they say, we need to use AI to understand how many Mexicans live in Mexico, so we can understand, because instead of sending money back to Mexico, how do you help through your community buying medicines in the United States that can be delivered in Mexico, because there's a lot of need in medicines lately with the scarcity of medicines in Mexico. So we're working on these kinds of projects. And the other objective is, how can we bring large customers like Fortune 500 companies to start developing technology in Mexico. Those are the two main objectives of the cluster of software of Nuevo León to bring those two customers. And right now, with the nearshoring wave, that's been a lot of help, because now everybody's at least looking into Mexico. And they start to understand that, hey, there might be something, like just like David said, there might be something in Monterrey that we can connect and start developing some business. And a couple months ago, we work for the largest bottler from Coca-Cola in the world, that is based in Monterrey, Coca-Cola FEMSA called, and they invited us to Atlanta, and they say, hey, this guy has one of the largest scientific networks in Mexico, so we can design a lot of AI in Mexico. And they were surprised at the capabilities of the 200 different scientists, developers that we have in our company. And now we start doing all the AI for the Coca-Cola company in Atlanta. So once they understand the capabilities that is in Mexico, once they understand the quality of the university, the quality of the talent that is in Mexico, they quickly realize that there is an opportunity. And that's why we're using the cluster of software as a platform. And now what we're asking for the rest of the companies that are in the cluster of software is that you should be in Texas, because nobody's going to be in Monterrey if you're not being in Texas. So being part of this type of community here, where we connect, where we have the relationship with universities, with companies, with startups, that's where really the magic happens. We have a good example, for instance, Eddie. He's a very young guy. He has a super company, and once we got here, I met him recently when we got here into Austin, and I started to look at these kind of companies. I said, let me know how we can help. And one of the things that happened between Monterrey and Austin is also the type of people there are in the two cities. There's a lot of collaboration. And if you go perhaps to another cities in the US or another cities in Mexico, it's not quite the same. So we have to, we're developing in the cluster of technologies this kind of connection between corporations and this kind of communities. So this is one of our objectives.
Thank you, Carlos. I mean, this is for all four of you, a little bit from your perspective and experience. What are a little bit the do's and don'ts? And tell us a little bit maybe about your success stories, and also maybe some stories of important learnings you had so far between the two regions, and give us some examples, okay, how you should do it, but maybe also some example how you should not do it and what you should be aware of. When we talk about innovation projects, when we talk about real estate, when we talk about industrial development and construction, and when we talk about software projects.
So the first innovation project that comes to mind is based out of Monterey. One of our companies called Ventus, we have about 250 engineers there. Really advanced piece of technology, but like kind of like Carlos was mentioning, a lot of people don't consider Mexico from the standpoint of the quality of the engineers. There's a whole long story I could tell you, but the number one thing would be just to say that we deployed a skunkworks, a disruptive innovation initiative for GE in the defense area, using a technology that was developed in a basement at this company in Monterey for looking for needles and haystacks of terabytes of data. The technology was very unique. The team is extremely advanced, as advanced as you'd find in the United States. And you know, I put my reputation on the line for doing this, although I've worked with, I didn't feel like I was putting my reputation on the line because, you know, I've had 31, 32, or 34 years of doing business in Mexico, and so it wasn't like it was simple. It was simple. The thing that GE was excited about, that technology was deployed, and they started finding the information they needed in this large terabyte or multiple terabytes of data overnight. The key thing that I learned to be able to set the table, I call it set the table, between parties in Texas, parties in Mexico, and also parties in the Northeast. There's more of kinship for relationship style in Texas and Mexico than there was in the Northeast. Well, part of what we had to do, I mean, this is because GE was in the Northeast, was part of what we had to do was to really understand the culture of the other. Now, for me, my company's operation was to bridge that relationship, right? To teach our colleagues in Monterey how to speak into the Northeastern style, fast as anything, not always very personal relationship style. Whereas in Mexico, I just absolutely love, and it's now become a part of my life, part of my blood. In fact, my fiance calls it that I have a Latin side. To take the time to build a relationship. And so that is the key thing, that relationship style that you see in Austin is very similar to what you see in Nuevo León. Closer than, you know, Monterey is closer culturally than the city in the Northeast, as an example.
Yes, I would just like to add regarding real estate, the main difference that I can see is that access to information. As many of you know, here in the US, regarding real estate, all the information is out there. You can know all the transactions that have happened, how much have they built for, what's moving, what's in the market, etc. It's not like that in Mexico, so the relationships that you were saying are super important. And it's not as hard as, I mean, you mentioned about the process, because I feel from the American side, there's like a fear about what is that, since the information is not out there as it is here, there's kind of like a fear of how would this go, so you need to build like trust, right? And relationships are key on that sense. I would say that would be like the most do's and don'ts is don't assume it's gonna be the same. You gotta understand the culture, you gotta, and that's why incMTY and facilitators, like government facilitators, and events like these are important, because that's where you're building those relationships. If your interest is to invest in Mexico, and we have Rene here who can tell you a lot about what that is, right? Building there.
Thank you, Lala. Yeah, I agree with what you said. And you too, relationships is like in any culture, you need to know who to partner with when you go to Mexico, to Monterey in this case. Do a good research, partner with someone who knows, who can give you a good recommendation about things. For example, in the legal framework for environmental issues, if there's manufacturing needs, find a good partner with a good reputation that can go with you along the way. Also in regards to permits, for example, or energy resources, which are one of the main reasons to set up shop try to always find the right person. Okay. Also, in buying land, there's a lot of land opportunities, but not all of them are the right ones. Maybe industrial parks, which are already set, will give you a fast response on, maybe will be higher costs, but you'll be with less risk into everything that needs to be done, because the planning of your projects, they start off with less of the cost, which is buying land and getting permits, and once you're there, the rest of the investments are gonna be a non-stop. So partner with someone that you can trust and make some comparisons. That's some of the do's.
For me, I have to learn the hard way, because in Mexico, we used to work with big hospitals and big financial institutions. When I got here, I didn't know anything about a thing called HIPAA, or HITROS, or SOC 2, or some regulations that are different between two countries. So I would say in technology, that's the hard way, the hardest way to come here without preparation. We didn't know when we arrived here that we needed to be prepared or certified in those kinds of regulations. So for me, the big difference is the legal framework, as you said. Even though business is business, taxes are handled a little bit different, the legal contracts are handled a little bit different, but in terms of regulations, it's a whole different story. When you want to work with the government in Mexico, it's not as regulated as it is here. If you want to work with the government here, you have to have some certain level of clearance, and that's, as everybody said here, you have to partner with the right guys, somebody that has learned the right way, or that is ready to do business from Mexico in the United States, or to take you, because you're going to find difference also when you want to sit there in Mexico and you want to set up a company. It's a little bit different to handle those kind of things. So that would be the fine different point that you have to take care of.
Thank you so much for, let's give a big applause for our panelists. And what Rene was telling, I mean, these are also the right partners, and these are just some examples of people we are going and want to connect you with. If it's on a government level, with the governor Samuel Garcia, tourism with Mari Carmen, and also the economic secretary Ivan Rivas and Emmanuel Lu. We can connect you with the right people, to the right companies, and to the right association or clusters. And again, I mean, when you want to be successful, you have to show up. And thanks again for showing up today, and hopefully we are showing all up on our event in November and in March. And we and Bonnie, we can make a special agenda for your needs. Okay, so this is what we're doing as well when we're bringing delegations over, companies over. Obviously, you can go to the event, but the most important thing is to make a really specialized agenda for your needs, that you can meet the right people over here. Thank you again. Bonnie, I give you the last word, and hope you connect soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Thomas.